Donald Trump landed in Ankara aboard the newest, most expensive presidential aircraft America has ever flown, a $400 million Boeing 747-8, gifted by Qatar. Days later, with an active Iranian threat hanging over the NATO summit, he wouldn't go near it. He got in a catering truck instead. What happened in between exposes a hole in America's most protected aircraft that nobody in Washington wants to talk about. Two aircraft sat on that tarmac. One, the brand new 747-8, barely months old, still being fitted out by defense contractor L3 Harris on its first ever international trip. The other, the VC-25A, the faded blue and white 747-200 that's been flying presidents since the late 1980s, older than most of the press corps covering it. By every measure of age and cost, the choice should have been obvious. It wasn't. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why a plane that cost $400 million was the one he refused to trust with his life. Before Wheels Up, Trump posted that he'd fly home on the old jet for old time's sake, while the new plane flew separately to RAF Mildenhall in the UK, so American service members could tour it. Cameras rolled as he climbed the stairs of the Legacy 747 and disappeared inside, waving to the press pool boarding behind him. Nothing about it looked unusual. That was the point. Minutes after boarding, a catering truck, the kind used to load in-flight meals, was raised to a door on the far side of the aircraft, out of view of the cameras and the press cabin. Trump and a small circle of aides stepped off the plane and into the truck. It pulled away roughly 5 minutes later. The reporters and staff who'd just boarded with him had no idea he was already gone. The truck delivered the president to a third aircraft, a C-32A, a militarized Boeing 757 that normally flies the vice president or secretary of state. It flew under the radio call sign Reach 18, not Air Force One. Meanwhile, the Legacy 747, carrying the press pool, none the wiser, took off for Britain, still using the Air Force One call sign, even though the president wasn't aboard. The deception didn't end on the ground. It followed the flight into the air. The choice of aircraft wasn't about weapons or armor. The C-32A isn't better defended than the 747. It's about visibility. A four-engine 747 with a distinctive livery is one of the most recognizable aircraft silhouettes on Earth. A 757 is one of the most common airframes flying commercial routes worldwide. Putting the president on it meant putting him inside radar and visual clutter, a target that doesn't stand out long enough to be identified before it's gone. So, what was worth all of this? Intelligence, reportedly passed to Washington by Israel, warning that Iranian-linked operatives were positioned near Ankara Airport with shoulder-fired missiles close enough to strike an aircraft on climb-out. One person familiar with the intelligence has said the threat was assessed as viable from within, roughly a 1-kilometer radius of the runway, not a threat from across a border. Someone standing near the perimeter fence. Iran does operate longer-range, radar-guided air defense systems capable of reaching hundreds of kilometers. But Ankara sits far outside that reach, deep inside NATO airspace, nowhere near the Iranian border. Moving a system that size undetected into Turkey isn't realistic, which is exactly why officials weren't worried about a large missile battery. They were worried about a single operative with a weapon that fits in a car trunk, cheap, portable, and nearly impossible to fully rule out around a civilian airport. That's the threat this entire operation was built around. Here's what it exposed. The legacy VC-25A carries a system called LAIRCM, Large Aircraft Infrared Countermeasures, built by Northrop Grumman. Sensors mounted around the fuselage detect the heat signature of a missile launch in real time and slew a laser turret to track it, then fire a modulated beam directly into the missile's own seeker to blind it. No flares, no manual input, all of it automatic, in milliseconds. It's one of the most advanced missile defeat systems in the US inventory. The brand new Qatari-donated jet does not have it. That's the answer. The $400 million plane was modified fast, and it shows. Multiple officials have said it lacks the anti-missile capability of the legacy aircraft. It also hasn't received the same electromagnetic pulse hardening, protection that matters if the aircraft ever needs to function as a survivable command post in a crisis. And separately, government reporting has flagged that its new communications suite is already on track to become technologically obsolete before the permanent fleet even enters service. A fix expected to cost over $70 million on its own. None of this was supposed to matter because a purpose-built, fully hardened VC-25B was contracted to arrive in 2024. It's now delayed to 2028 or 2029. Boeing's fixed-price, roughly $3.9 billion contract has absorbed pandemic-era supply chain failures, shortages of cleared personnel able to work on classified systems, and the collapse of a major interior contractor. The Qatari jet exists only because the real replacement isn't ready, a stopgap standing in for a program years behind schedule. But here's the part. Almost nobody covering this story is asking. Turkish officials have told reporters they suspect the Israeli intelligence may have been exaggerated, possibly timed to derail ongoing negotiations between Washington and Tehran. No one has publicly proven the plot was real, which means everything you just watched, the decoy, the catering truck, the call sign switch, may have been triggered by a threat that was never fully confirmed. So the most powerful man on Earth flew into Ankara on America's newest presidential jet and flew out hidden in a catering truck because that same brand new aircraft couldn't be trusted to protect him. Real threat or manufactured one, the embarrassment is the same either way. $400 million bought a plane the Secret Service wouldn't risk flying home.